So I remember when I was growing up and I was in college and I really got into football when I was about 11 years old. And I remember there were some great teams. Naturally, the first team that most people think of is the 2007 New England Patriots. And I know that team, and it's a very good team. And it's a team that I can say on paper is probably one of the best in the NFL. But I truly remember watching every single play of the 2012 San Francisco 49ers. That was the first real team that I could sit back and go, damn, they're good. Like, holy crap, who the hell is going to beat this team? And they went to the Super Bowl that year and they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. And that was the Harbaugh Bowl, of course. But you got to remember, this team was loaded with talent. I mean, top to bottom, they had everything that you were looking for. They had like 11 all pros from Patrick Willis to Navarro Bowman to Mike Iupati, Justin Smith, I think was one. You had Deshaun Golston, Andy Lee, a punter, Joe Staley. Like this team was so stacked. And the only question that you really had was the quarterback one. And it wasn't because versus Alex Smith, but it was more so how limited will this team be potentially at the role? And how limited will this team be if they are able to not get consistent play from one of these two guys? And at this point, that's kind of where you are right now when brain picking the 2023 version of the San Francisco 49ers. Like, you can't sit here and go, well, technically, when you look at the way the angle of Fred Warner when he makes up, no, you can't do that. Well, the route running numbers when it says Deebo Samuel, like, no, you want to go ahead and be that statistical nerd, go for it. I understand. Like, there are people out there that work and they do the analytics and they go ahead and they find out the little areas of where this team is at. Well, technically, when you look at the likes of Christian McCaffrey, he should be averaging like cool, whatever. I don't care. I'm not one of those guys, and it's fine if you are, but that's not me. The big thing that I take away is that we're right back in that same conversation. This team is good. I mean, this team is so damn good. I have no idea where to even begin. The offensive line, you have a future Hall of Famer in Trent Williams, who honestly is the one guy I would want in a bar fight after last night's game. You have a superstar at center in David Brendel. You have a really good number one wide receiver in Deebo Samuel. You have a great tight end in George Kittle. The defensive talent, you lose your coordinator in D'Amico Ryans. You lose a guy like Jimmy Ward. And it's like you haven't even missed a beat because of what you have with Fred Warner, with what you have with Dre Greenlaw, with Nick Bosa, with Taloa Tafunga. I mean, all these guys are just superstars. It all comes down to quarterback. It all comes down to quarterback. So when we go ahead and we have to nitpick on a guy such as a Brock Purdy, please know it's not coming out of negativity. It's because of what the hell else can we talk about? Because that's the one thing that will derail this team from not only making it to the NFC Championship game, but potentially even winning the Super Bowl this year. That's how good this roster is, where the quarterback does not need to be elite. He just can't be a screw up. He just can't find a way to implode midway through the year. 800-224-2004. 30-12 victory. The numbers would suggest that Brock Purdy was elite last night. And in my opinion, he wasn't. He was good. He had a couple of incredible throws that if you said he was a rookie or a first-round talent that got drafted last year, there's a lot of potential. And there's a reason why, if you were to say, looking back at the 2022 NFL draft class, Brock Purdy ends up being the best of the bunch. Like, you had Kenny Pickett, you had Malik Willis, you had Desmond Ridder, you had Sam Howell. Those were the quarterbacks selected all before Brock Purdy. And then Purdy becomes Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's won 8 at the position. He finished with 310 passing yards. He had like 111 passer rating. The numbers suggest that he was elite last night. He was good. He was a very good quarterback. But he's still probably, I would say, a bottom 10 quarterback in the NFL. The difference is that you look at teams like the Steelers and you look at teams like the Commanders and even the Giants for that matter. The weaponry, the personnel, the defense, and the play calling are at an elite standard. So you're not asking him to do far too much out of his realm. You're not asking him to be that big of a difference maker. You're asking him to carry the load. Don't make a lot of mental errors. Find playmakers in space and let them work after the catch. And that's exactly what you do. And that's exactly what happens almost every single game. And it goes back to the whole analogy of why the hell did you let quarterback to say, yes, sir, I'll do this and I'll do it at a near perfect level. So I'm the right guy for the job. And that's exactly what you're getting for the quarterback. Like Kyle Shanahan at this point does not need to worry about his job security. He does not need to worry about who he adds, who he cuts, who he doesn't like, who he thinks are great players, what round they're selected in. Because of as long as he continues to build the roster in his image, guess what? They're going to be really, really good. Jimmy Garoppolo. When Jimmy Garoppolo got traded to San Francisco, he was not an elite quarterback by any standard. He was good, not great. He was a guy that some people believed was going to be, I would say, a slight difference maker, more so just a quality player if you were to stay in England. But he was a good quarterback for the system because he worked for what Kyle Shanahan wanted. And I'll be real with you. If you were to tell me right now, over the course of, say, a 5-year career in San Francisco, because that's how long Jimmy Garoppolo was there, that's how long potentially Brock Purdy could be there. I believe that Purdy will be an absolutely better quarterback for this system underneath Kyle Shanahan than Jimmy G ever was. And Jimmy G took them to a Super Bowl in 2019, an NFC title game in 2021, and an NFC title game in 2022. So he's been there. Like, he's been there. Let me phrase that. He didn't take him to an NFC title game in 2022. He helped them get in line to go to an NFC title game in 2022. So my apologies on that one. But the way that this roster just is constructed, I mean, they have studs and studs and studs. Brandon Ayuk had 1,000 receiving yards last year. Guy didn't even play last night. You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell in the slightest. And you know why you couldn't tell? Because of what you have with the other role players. A Jawan Jennings, who's a 7th-round pick. He's great blocker, and he's a good wide receiver 3. He stepped up. What you have in the run game with Christian McCaffrey, which, by the way, at this point, might be the biggest home run trade we have ever seen in the history of the NFL, not because of he's a running back, but because of he's just a weapon. Like, you have to include him in the receiving game. People talk about the duos in the NFL, the Jalen Waddles and the Tyreek Hills, the Devonta Smiths and the A.J. Browns. You can make a valid argument that it has to be considered a trio out in the Bay Area because of what you have with McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, who is a weapon. He's not a wide receiver. He's not a running back. He just is a superstar weapon. And then Brandon Ayuk, who actually is your bona fide eventual $100 million pass catcher. And that's not including in guys like Elijah Mitchell. That's not including in guys like George Kittle. And that's not including in a stout defense that probably comes as close to mirroring that 2012 San Francisco 49ers defense. Or I would even make an argument based off of how they've looked so far, a mix of a lighter version of the Legion of Boom in 2013. That's how good this team is. Elite coaching, great execution play calling, a balanced run game, good receivers, so good that when you're down a guy, it doesn't even matter. And then a stout defense that's going to carry the load, force a lot of 3 and outs, get the ball back in your hands. Brock Purdy can be a bottom 10 quarterback in the NFL for the next 3 to 5 years and still be very successful. Brock Purdy could end up being a guy that just averages, say, 67 completion percentage, 3,000 passing yards, and 25 to 28 touchdowns. Maybe he'll run in like 3 or 4 more. So 30-31. Never a dude that ends up being in the front runner conversation for MVP. But because of what he has at his disposal, you know that San Francisco is going to be good. This is a 3-team race in the NFC, and it has been for me for a while. In some order, however you want to put it, San Francisco, Dallas, Philadelphia. Unless one of them is completely deteriorated of injuries, those are going to be the 2 teams that are two of the 3 teams fighting to make it to the NFC Championship game. And I'm going to be honest, based off what we saw last night, I get it. It's the Giants right now. They're a terrible team. But based off what I saw last night, you can automatically almost punch your ticket in for San Francisco. They're legit. They have superstar talent, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. I can tell you that much, people. Guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.